we are also entrepreneurs who run businesses. We created a platform for women entrepreneurs in mining to speak with one voice and be able to access all these opportunities that you have, all these spends that you have. And we said, why is it that we are sitting here today complaining about how we access that? And that's the reason why we started with this. And we've done quite a few things. But key to what we do really is that there's a lot of women in business. And I'll tell you, bring our membership. There are a lot of women in business, especially the mining, because we all operate mining. And, they complain about a whole things. And we started to drill down to say, as you, company ABC, what are your issues? And we don't get business, all this, or this. And then when we actually looked at, because we have roundtable discussions with mining companies to say, what is it that you want these women who are entrepreneurs to do in order to access the spend? So we realized that there was a gap, actually. Yeah. Some of the women, because what we actually make you to be as an entrepreneur is to comply, because the companies in the value chain of mining, the companies who have access to funding, you had NEF saying something about access to funding. They're not going to give you an opportunity because you're black and you're a woman. You have to comply. And we are basically facilitators that you have to be able to comply and access those funds, including ourselves. Yeah. So basically that's what we do. We are standing at, when we started, we had about 350 members, and that was raw data from the time we joined. Now everyone joined, and now we then, a couple of months back, we decided to look at who are members. Know your clients. So we looked at we did the KYC, and we thought, okay, some of the people who are on the database are actually employed by anyone. So what does that mean? Does it mean it's a side hustle? And there's a lot of high side. Yeah. That's actually something that needs to be taken into consideration. But how are you going to deal with that? So we then broke it down. So we actually now know who's who. I'm going to go here before I tell you where we are and how many members. We're standing today, after cleaning our database, we're standing at 283 as of last month. Okay. And our reach in Gauteng, and this now is going to take companies, when we sit and report, to say, what is it that we can do better? Companies must look at this mine host community. What do we really need? Yes. What do we want to achieve? Because in Gauteng, there are 131 women on our database who are doing projects there, but now they're beginning to struggle because of localization, So they're beginning to struggle. So we have to look at that. Or what are we going to do? We have strategies around that. Yeah. Prepared to share with you. And in the Northwest, we have 22 women and Mpumalanga 22. And we went down up to Eastern Cape and the Western Cape. We have 5 people each. Okay. And you say, what is it that we have to do to improve it? So that's what we're going to be talking about.
Yes. We'll definitely get to it. We'll definitely get to host community procurement. I think it's definitely a topic that you have raised before, and I think it's something that a lot of mining companies have different definitions for. So maybe we'll also just share in terms of what it is that we understand it to be and why do we do it. But before we get there, I want us to first dive into enterprise and supplier development. We know that it's a catalyst for inclusive procurement, right? So it's where you are assisting your entrepreneurs, business owners in terms of development. The development can be in any kind of an area. Most of the time it's about improving or enhancing capabilities, quality, service delivery, competitiveness, and so forth. So on that, I'll start off again with my colleagues from the mining companies. So what type of enterprise and supply development programs do you have? Also, how did you select these type of programs? Do you have an enterprise and supply development facilitation partner, or are you doing it in-house? Also, why did you pick those type of programs? And then because our focus today is on women-owned businesses, are there targeted programs for women-owned businesses? And I'm also going to take the liberty, since it is Youth Month, to also ask about your programs that are targeted for youth-owned companies. I don't want to have to cut you, so I'm going to give you each 2 minutes to respond.
All right. We have different programs within Harmony in terms of enterprise and supply development, and we've identified a pillar, a pyramid where there's legs within it in terms of the type of support that we focus on, incubation being part of it, because we realize that for women-owned companies, they need to understand what is mining, firstly. They also need to understand the need within the mining sector. We partnered with Lepara at the time, who was our incubation partner in terms of capacitating women-owned companies in mining, engineering services, because that's where we realized that the lack is in terms of skills and so forth. Secondly, we also have a program where we are funding SMMEs and women-owned SMMEs. And this is called the Liano Fund. But we also realized that as Harmony, we're not a financial institution. We're a mining company. For us to be able to fund SMMEs, we need to partner. And we've partnered with the likes of APSAs to come on board. And in those partnerships, we've signed MOAs where we are reducing barriers, because to fund women-owned companies and SMMEs is very difficult. So that's one element that we've brought in. The last element that we've brought in was, as it came highly so in mining Charter 3 enterprise development, and how you can facilitate it with your OEMs. Because as a mining industry, we're well aware that we have original equipment manufacturers. We cannot do away with them, but we can have conversation with them around unbundling, around downstream opportunities, and these opportunities then be directed to SMMEs within host communities focused at women and youth. So these are the programs that we have in host communities, in our value chain, but we've also partnered with our supply chain colleagues, which, are part of the colleagues that are here from supply chain. Important is that the KPIs of OEMs, we look into their transformation targets as well. What programs do they have as well? And that also sits in our supply chain space. So that holistic ecosystem of support is some of the programs that we have that are focused in building women-owned companies and youth-owned companies. We've also touched on the fact that it is still Youth Month, and what are we doing in that space too. And I think also youth being a subcategory of services in terms of the percentage that we need to achieve in that space.
Great, thank you.
Sorry. That's fine, thanks. I think because we experience the same challenges as different mining houses, you'll find that our responses are more or less the same, as I'm listening to my colleague over here. So the different programs that we have that have been flagged is that under Enterprise Development Program, it is focused more on the startups to capacitate them in terms of how are they able to participate in a procurement spend. We look into topics like Sizama spoke of SMMEs being able to understand their own businesses. So we focus on such topics for suppliers to be able to understand their own businesses, suppliers being able to understand as Agri-Trade, how do we operate, what are our tendering processes, and pricing, how do we do the pricing? So those are some of the things that we look into our enterprise development program. It's a 12-week program that we do per cohort. So in a period of 12 months, we'll have 3 cohorts joining in the program. It is focused on our host community companies as the target group currently. There is a selection criteria of women and youth that we require the suppliers that we onboard to be women and youth. So there is that specific focus in terms of capacitating women and youth-owned companies. And in terms of our supplier development, it is more focused on contract succession. So when suppliers get an opportunity within the mine, we look at the contract that they have and we capacitate them in fulfilling the contract. So we have an ESD implementation partner that is based within our operations, where we get services of business coaches housed at our ESD facilities that provide mentoring, coaching, and training in terms of the programs that we have. So that's in essence what we do in the ESD space.
Thank you so much, ladies. And I think just a sobering stat is the fact that, you know, the Western Cape, University of the Western Cape did a study in 2020 where it was revealed that 70 to 80% of startups in South Africa fail within the first 5 years. If you compare this to the global numbers, you know, 50% of companies fail within the first 5 years. So this is a very difficult area. So you're trying to establish and develop some of these companies, but not all of them will make it. So just a quick one. And again, this time I'm only going to give you a minute. Just give us a quick highlight of a enterprise and supply development program that was successful at Harmony and then at RBPlat.
Okay. We have many successes, but I'm going to highlight on the one that we have in the Northwest, where a woman-owned company has taken over our supply of fuel. I mean, if you understand this industry, it was predominantly an industry that was, you've got your big players in this field. And there you have a woman in the Northwest, one of our rural provinces, taking over the spend of about 500 million over 3 years. And this has been our biggest achievement. Lerato is doing very well. The company's name is Blue Barrels. And it's one of those that we want to showcase in terms of a success story. And it also supports the fact that our strategy is working, our framework is working. We just need to then keep at it because we have certainly not arrived.
Great. A round of applause, please. Well done. RBPlat, 1 minute. I've asked for 5 extra minutes, so please let's use them well.
Okay. One of the success stories that comes to mind is an opportunity that was awarded to a woman-owned company for oil analysis. I think I chose this opportunity because there was more collaboration in getting that opportunity to get off the ground. We had end users involved in the opportunities. We had OEMs involved in the opportunities. We even had the likes of IDC funding the opportunity. So it is one of the success stories that we're really proud of. It's a combination of women and youth. So I think that is one of the things that sticks out. And there was also an involvement from the business development side of things to get the project running in terms of offering business advices.
Thank you. Another round of applause. Kosi, I have not forgotten you. And you're going to bring us back. You're going to bring us back to reality. So you're going to give us a bit of a reality check. What are some of the challenges and top 3? So in 2 minutes, your top 3 challenges that women-owned businesses are experiencing or are facing when they're trying to get opportunities with mining houses.
Yeah, the first one is just the information about the opportunities. Where do you advertise that? And do you talk about women in those communities? What is your strategy to do that? Because as we now have set up our region, we've realized that there's a gap there. So we're going to be working with the mining companies to fill that. The second one really is access to funding. There are companies that are being paired, with a women-owned supplier in host communities and other provinces. And they are being paired with large suppliers in a very big contract, and it's all celebrated. The crux comes when there's now implementation. Policies and agreements are signed at the corporate office. The real work happens at the mines, and they don't give a support you. Especially when there's a lot of work that needs to be done there in terms of respect for women. So there's still that bias, and what do you know about this, and the challenge is that women end up just giving up. We have 4 women who are in the core of mining who are shutting down the companies right now. So that's a major challenge that we have to work around that. I mean, it just breaks my heart to know when a member says, "Because I've tried it, I'm just voting." Because now I have IDC, I have NEF who wants their money, and I've committed to pay. And then also another challenge, the last one is you get given a contract. There's some guarantees that you have to before you can start. And there's timing for you to start because mining companies can't lose 1 minute of production. They can't lose that. And if you can't deliver, you're going to be off. So these are the things that we're going to have to talk about and say, how do we work around that?
Thank you, Sis Chris. Just mindful of the time, very sobering, and I'm hoping, and I'm seeing a lot of nods and a lot of people in the room. This is something for all of us. It's not just for the 2 member companies that are up here today. So these are some of the challenges that we need to be able to address in order for us to open up the space, respect women-owned businesses. And just on that, so 30 seconds, parting shot. If the mining industry had to collaborate in order to support women-owned businesses, what things should we be doing? I'll start with you, Chris, and then I'll move this side.
We need to really have round table discussions, or we would have 3 with major companies.
Okay, I'll send it.
And it's to be announced. We're still, waiting for them to see the legalities of the contract. This is going to be, our pride and joy. So, what was the question again? Someone
So it's the collaboration in order to support women-owned businesses. Industry support or collaboration to support women-owned businesses.
we need to have round tables and sit down and look at the challenges. Because I'll give one example about the SLP. An SLP is a document that you need to lodge when you are applying for mining right or mining permit. So, you get consultants, they write beautiful documents, and then also you consult with the LED and the IDP. But when the project gets implemented, the dynamics within the communities have changed. So you have to be adaptable. So you have to be right there. Because I personally think that if we could do what communities want, we wouldn't have gates that are closed and tires that are there.
Thank you.
I think for me, it's more collaboration. And listening to Iron Kumba and their strategies, they're similar to us. So why are we not collaborating? Yes. Why are we as an industry, working in pockets in our host communities? Why am I developing 2 PPE companies when I sit closely with one mining company that we can develop one and support, create a lasting legacy, create economies that will last beyond life of mines for our communities? I think that is very critical. And it needs to go beyond legislative requirements. It needs to be something that is impactful to the country. It is something that we want to do. It needs to be within our hearts, and we implement it in that way. We will leave lasting legacy as an industry.
Thank you.
For Army Flight Slide, I agree with my colleagues here. Sis Zama mentioned the quote that I had written down, that if you want to go far, go alone. And if you want to go, if you want to go fast, go alone, sorry. And if you want to go far, go together. And that is something that we believe that AgriPlats, hence the collaboration with Williams. And we need to have these talks and understand what is the challenges that the women-owned companies are facing. And we need to be intentional about what is it that we want to do as mining houses and not see it as a tick box exercise and move along.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to my panel. As you've all heard, Izimbogoto have spoken. And I think, some of the great insights that we've shared We did speak a little bit about, some of the value that's been created, some of the enterprise and supply development programs. I do apologize, we won't have time to have a discussion, a panel discussion where we are talking about host community procurement, but I think it's something that we do need to continue to talk about. So as we mingle and get to know each other and network, something that women don't do very well, we all get out of the room and rush back home. So I would, encourage us to maybe stick around a little bit and have these conversations and these networking sessions after the session. So thank you very much to everyone that has joined us in the room and to those that are joining us online.